Welcome to Turn the Page, the official podcast of the Syosset Public Library.
Welcome to Syosset Library Turn the Page podcast. This is Jessica and...
Hi, this is Sharon.
And Stacy.
And our guest today is, would you like to introduce yourself?
Oh, sure. Hi, my name's Ella Morton. I'm a writer and a contributing editor to Atlas Obscura.
Very cool. Would you like to talk a little bit about what Atlas Obscura is and how it got started?
Sure. So Atlas Obscura is a bunch of different things now. It's a lot more than it was at the beginning. It started in 2009 as a collaboration between Josh Four and Dylan Thuris. And both of them had been big into road trips as kids and also had fascinations with nerdy things and sciencey things and historical things.
We're all librarians here. We love all that stuff.
Yeah, that's our sweet spot.
I know. It's like, who could even imagine such a thing? So they met and got talking about their individual predilections and fascinations with 17th century polymaths and about places like House on the Rock in Spring Green, Wisconsin, which is this enormous property that has things like the world's largest carousel and
it's been featured in, I think, Neil Gaiman's American Gods.
Season 2.
That's right. Yes,
and in the book.
So they basically started what was pretty much a blog to talk about all of these places that they had been to that they found strange and wondrous and awe-inspiring. And then once they'd gotten down a bunch of places that they had personally been to, they opened it up to submissions from people around the world. And from that, it's just grown exponentially. We now, on the website, have over 18,000 places. We have a database it's a lot. We have a database for strange and amazing foods. And we also have an editorial component. We have videos. We do events, and we take people on international trips. And we have books, which is the most relevant for our purposes.
Yes.
And that's the point at which I joined. I became part of Atlas in 2011, and I was brought on to be a writer for the first book, which came out in 2016. So that kind of gives you an idea of how long it took to actually write the thing. It was about 4.5 years. And
it's a big book.
It's a big book. It could kill somebody.
Well, we hope it does.
Brick of a book. Yeah. So that one came out in 2016. It has about 500 places in it. And then we had our kids' book come out last year. And then just this month, we had our updated version of the first book. So we've been busy.
Great.
Yeah, definitely. Was it so was it like, you have 500 places in the first book. Was it difficult to
narrow it down? How did you choose?
Yeah.
It was so difficult. We had a big spreadsheet. We had a lot of fights. And we had some amusing conversations with our editor at Workman Publishing, because she would say things like, look, can you just choose your top 5 museums featuring wax models of dermatological diseases? Because we were listing all these places that we really liked and that individually have so much merit, but when put in a collection with a bunch of other places that are similar, they look less standoutish, less unique. So ultimately, I think we did have a good combination of different types of places from different locations. But the one thing that we didn't quite get right the first time around is that we didn't have enough places in Africa and some parts of Asia and the Middle East.
Okay.
So that's something that we've sought to rectify in the updated version.
That's good.
Yeah.
So you tried to get like a well-rounded collection, so different types.
Right. Yeah, so we've got a better balance for the updated one that just came out.
Very nice. Do you have any I mean, this is so. This is kind of redundant because you just explained how difficult it was to narrow it down. But and a lot of submissions. Did you use submissions mostly from the original creators or from people who contributed?
So this is a question that a lot of people ask is like, have you been to all of these places, the three of you? And as much as I want to say, yes, I've been to all 500, it's just not logistically possible. So we do, even though three names are on the front of the book, we are very much in debt to the Atlas Obscura community, who are the people who bring a lot of these places to our attention. And the way that it works is that anyone can submit a place idea on the website, and then we look at it, we decide if it meets our standards for strangeness and wondrousness, and which are kind of mildly ambiguous criteria, but ultimately they just need to be places that are surprising in some way. Or unexpected.
That's cool.
So
you have you have some really awesome ones.
There are many. I just went on a book tour and I did some school visits as part of that. And one of the things that the kids really freak out over is Snake Island, which is
just
off
the name.
Tell us about Snake Island.
Yeah, I know. Oh, it's fantastic. So in Portuguese, it's known as, I think, Il Quimada del Grande. I'm going to butcher that. I'm sorry. But it's this island off the coast of Sao Paulo, and it's uninhabited by humans, but it's inhabited by an absolute ton of golden lancehead vipers, which are very venomous.
Oh, wow.
And they're endemic to that island. They're only found there. And so this island is just teeming with serpents. And they're not just on the ground, they're in the trees.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
You lost me.
Well, no, I was going to be like,
Yeah.
that sounds cool. I'd totally visit it. But then
Until
you
they
said
fall
how,
on you.
well, that
Yeah.
that as soon as you were like the vipers, I was like, never mind.
Yeah.
I could see how kids would just love
Okay,
this.
I'm done.
So who found this island, and are they still with us?
Right. Well, there are all these. There's all these stories. I don't know if they're myths. I hope they are, but because you're not actually allowed to visit unless you get permission from the Brazilian Navy and you have a legitimate scientific reason.
Oh, wow.
Because the estimate in terms of population density is that there is one snake per square meter. And so that's the sort of catchphrase
Yeah,
is that
wow.
on Snake Island.
Can you send people there? Any exes or any,
you know.
Yeah.
Like, there's this really
That's
cool
definitely
place
a good
you should
idea.
visit.
Business idea.
Total
Yeah.
great photo opportunity for you.
Wow, that's interesting.
That's That's really amazing. Wow. And I could really see why kids would like that.
So, what age is the children's book written for? Like, what would you suggest? Is it more
We
like?
don't really.
Yeah.
It's kind of up to you. I mean, the focus on the children's book, we have a lot of the same places as the ones that are in the adults book, but it has every page is really richly illustrated.
Nice.
So it's a bit less text and a lot more imagery. So I'd say, yeah, I mean, we have a lot of kids that read our original book,
Right.
and it's sort of, it reminds me of when I was a kid and I would take an encyclopedia to bed and just open it at a random page.
I did
And that's the kind of feel we're going for.
Yeah.
But I'd say maybe up to like 10 or 12 is probably the max
Okay.
age for the kids' book. Yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, Snake Island, it's just, there are all these stories, like there's a lighthouse nearby and there's a story about the lighthouse keeper and their family trying to escape and being set upon by the serpents and like
Oh, wow.
bitten to death and drowning in a pool of their own blood.
Wow.
So it's evocative.
All right.
It certainly is. I mean, that almost sounds. I mean, it might be, but that sounds like urban legend.
Oh,
That's what
I'm
I
inclined to think
territory.
And I think that's one of the things that drew me in when I started seeing posts from Atlas Obscura. When you're a kid and you hear a story that supposedly happened to a friend of a friend of a friend, and it's totally true, but there's obviously no proof, but you scare yourself thinking about it, or you hear
There's
about
a place that people go to.
Yeah.
in the
Exactly.
area.
Well,
but there were pictures of these places.
Well, because I
Yeah.
looked up, I have the website up. I'm like playing around with it as we're doing this podcast. But I looked up just to see what's near our zip code. And one of the ones is the Amityville Horror House.
Oh, yeah.
So you do have, some of that in there. I like seeing all the other stuff. I'm like, oh, I remember seeing that. There's Execution Rocks Lighthouse, Sands Point. I didn't know that there was the Long Island Puppet Theater. I didn't know that was real. That's in Hicksville.
Yes, I've actually been
I've
there.
been to a birthday party there, so it is real. I can vouch.
Yes,
I was like, I saw that. I was like, I want to go there. I think
Yeah.
literally
You'll get a chance.
the only thing I've been to was the Whaling Museum. I'm like, I don't go to cool
Which is a
places on Long
classic.
Island.
Cold Spring Harbor Whaling Museum. We like to go there with the boys. But yeah.
So did you have a list of places around here that you wanted to talk about?
I did. There's one that I actually just came across, and this is part of the joy of Atlas Obscura is that you can look at, you can go there and say what's near me, and then there might come up all these places that you just had never heard about that are in your neighborhood, essentially. And for Syosset, I was looking at the ruins of King Zog's estate.
That's an
That's
amazing.
the first one that pops up on here, and I was like,
story.
"What is this? I've never heard of it."
So tell us about it.
Yeah.
Sure. So there's this grand, it was called the Knollwood Estate, and it was built for Charles Hudson around between 1906 and 1920. And apparently it was purchased by King Zog from Albania in 1951.
Wow.
But I don't think he ever turned up because there were all these rumors that circulated about him and about there being treasure stored in the walls
Yep.
of the estate.
Wow. Right here. Yeah.
Just standard Albanian treasure. But King Zog is pretty fascinating on his own. He had to flee Albania when it was invaded by Italy, and he reportedly survived over 55 assassination attempts.
Whoa.
Okay, this
So,
is like a Wikipedia.
That's pretty
whole
impressive.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
fall into later.
No, seriously.
Yeah, and apparently, so he bought this estate, the Knollwood Estate, in 1951. He seemed to want to turn it into his own little micro kingdom, is the terminology used on the site. But by 1955, it had just fallen into disrepair, and then by 1959, it was demolished.
Wow.
So
Yes.
that's another one of those stories that begins a bunch of rumors and mythology.
Yeah.
Like, what was in the walls? Probably nothing, but it's fun to think about.
I think the staircase still exists. I know.
Yes.
Yes, that's what I hear from a lot of urban explorers, and I know there's like fountains and
On
You've
the
been
site.
there?
on
And
the
it's-
site.
Oh. Where is it, like, geographically? Can you tell us?
Muttontown Preserve. So it
Oh,
really
yeah.
is, Ella. You did a good one because that
That
one's
is
really
very
close to here.
us,
Yeah. Well, because it even says on the website, know before you go, like where to go into the like.
That's handy.
Yeah, it says don't go through
Yeah.
like the main hiking preserve entrance. Enter through the equestrian center off Jericho, Oyster Bay, and it's I like that it's hidden if you're coming from the LIE. Check this out. Like you really do have directions and instructions, which
That's
is
great.
good.
But it's true because there are these giant gates when you're going down that area. And I think we all went to library school at Post, right?
Yeah.
From here, if you're heading there, you will see the giant gates.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Road trip.
and that's kind of, but I feel like this is the way like the Atlas Obscura get, and like you can go someplace, you could be visiting family, and you could just yeah.
We are seriously
Take a
going with
side
my
trip.
husband. Like I can just now. My husband's one of those guys that loves any abandoned anything, but if it's like a mental institution or something from the past.
That's even more.
That ups the ante a little bit. Yeah. So I know there are places
yes.
on your site. That,
I was like, I'll
Yeah.
totally go.
oh, of course.
I'll join that family trip of yours, Sharon.
You're part of the family, yeah. So it's that sort of thing. I mean, do the people who contribute that you work with, do they have like their specialties, like their thing? Like, is there someone who's really into like abandoned hospitals or like amusement parks? Because there's a lot
Or
of that.
Snake
creepy
Islands.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, part of my bio, I just had to write a new bio, and the last line of it I changed to find her at your local library or graveyard.
Yay!
Because
Oh,
those are
nice.
Very similar.
my favorite types of things. I love a good library. I love a good graveyard. There's actually a colonial cemetery in Oyster Bay that, if you've ever been to the cemeteries, the really old ones in Boston or around
Yes,
Harvard,
I have. My
a
husband
similar
has dragged
aesthetic.
me.
Yeah,
Like
so it's
years
a
ago.
similar aesthetic on the gravestones, where it has like these skulls with wings and crossbones.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
There is one of those cemeteries. It's kind of hidden in Oyster Bay, and it's one of those like scamper through the woods to try to find it and look for the tree with the ribbon around it.
Another road trip.
Yeah, exactly.
There's actually.
So I do.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
I just cemeteries are just the best. I mean, even just to look at what names were popular, and
Mm-hmm.
some people have just fascinating gravestones. Like there's one
Yeah.
with a Ouija board.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Have
one
you-
with a cookie
I was going to
recipe.
say, have you ever been up to Sleepy Hollow? Because that is a really beautiful cemetery. They
No.
give tours of, and they're famous people, Washington Irving. But it's just a very cool cemetery.
It's been on my list for a long time. I will
And
have
it's
to
a
say
nice place
that.
to visit too. Just the town. Just yeah. Check it out.
And Halloween's just ended, sadly.
Yes,
but
yes.
I'm really not about scary movies or haunted houses. I find them sort of traumatic, and so I can walk through a graveyard during the day.
Yeah.
But when you start to get like headless horsemen involved, it's a little bit different.
Well, we were there. We didn't see any, so I think it's safe during
Oh,
the day.
good.
During
Okay.
the day,
Yeah,
you're
it's
good.
okay.
Once
At
it's
night,
nighttime,
I can't guarantee anything.
all bets are off.
So one thing that is interesting about cemeteries, and it's funny because I was thinking about it. There's actually one in Woodbury, which is
Oh, that
part
church.
of not even
No,
which is part of our community. Up on a hiking trail, and I should probably put this in the atlas as a guest contributor if it's not there already. So it is it's an old cemetery. It has the names of some families from Long Island,
Wow.
whose names are now names of roads. But it has those things. You know how like sometimes those old cemeteries they would put things on the gravestones like suffered quietly for very just almost like very like just so you know like this person suffered but they were good about it. But one of the
They weren't a complainer.
but one of the gravestones did not say that. One of the gravestones, if I recall correctly, because I did go hiking here with my husband a few years ago, implied that the person did not go quietly.
Oh wow, where is this?
Not go gentle into that good night.
Not go gentle into the wind. It is
Miserable complainer.
so it's right it's right off of Jericho Turnpike on the cross between Jericho Turnpike and Woodbury Road. You have
White Chapel. Is
it's
right
across from the Little
Oh.
White Chapel, which has its own cemetery.
there. Okay.
Well, I was gonna be I don't call it the Little White Chapel. I
Whatever.
call it the place where they say like limousines and everything.
But it's also
I
the Little
always
White
have it
Chapel.
there. Yeah, there's I know there's like a temple behind it too.
Hmm.
Like I know the area because it's right by my parents. I didn't know on the other side there's
Yes, yeah.
hiking.
Cemetery.
So that's one I should actually take pictures of it and
Well,
contribute.
now you piqued my interest.
Yeah.
I want to know what this.
Yeah,
person-
I would love that.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like lunch break road trip.
I know.
we could. It's like right. It's like right
very
there.
close to the library.
So anything else you'd like to suggest?
Ooh, around you. Well, it's interesting because I hadn't really. I was going to start talking about like New York City places.
Go
but I
for
don't
it.
even
Oh,
need
yeah.
to.
Go
There's
go to
so
go to
much.
New York.
just a
Go to New
train
York
ride
City.
away.
Exactly.
Close.
So what's around New York City? Because there's tons of things we know about, but what should we know about?
Right. So one, it's actually become less obscure because we've talked about it a lot. But it's called the New York Earth Room, and it's basically a room full of dirt. and that's it.
All
It's
right.
in Soho, and it is an art installation. It's
Okay.
created by this artist named Walter de Maria, and it's been there since the 1970s. And it's an entire, basically a whole, I think it's 3,600 square feet, and it's 22 inches of dirt.
Huh.
And
Wow.
that's it. And they water it once a week.
As
smells
one does.
amazing.
Gotta keep your dirt fresh.
Yeah, but it's just, I mean, it's partially that it's just weird to see dirt inside a Soho walk up, but it's also the audacity of like
Oh, I'm
how
picturing.
much.
You're picturing like a
I was
basement.
picturing
rent
like
that
a
much cost.
basement, like
Yeah.
a dirty.
No.
No, it's
Like
like,
a
in
cellar?
an apartment. Like yeah. Oh wow, that changes it for me now. Now I can
Yeah,
see
and
it.
it's fun to bring people to, because if someone's visiting, I'll say, oh, I have a special place to take you to, and you go there, you have to buzz to be let in, and
Oh,
there's
wow.
no sense of what you're about to experience, and so you walk up these stairs, and you're just like, welcome to dirt.
Oh wow.
I like that because
Yeah.
it's like
You wanted to go to the
especially
M&M store?
Seems child friendly too.
You're
you can't
gonna
worry
come
about
see some dirt.
Yeah.
bring my 2-year-old. He lives for dirt, so that's family friendly fun.
Well, yeah, the only issue is that you can't touch the dirt.
Oh, forget
sadly.
it. All bets are
Oh.
off.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
I like that though. That's like I feel like I'd want to like do that to someone and be like, yeah, like
That
I
sounds
got
like a
this
great
really
prank
cool
idea.
thing, like,
yeah.
and then be like, oh come on, it's super secret, like we're getting buzzed in, like, and they're like, what is it? What is
They
it?
think
And
it's
I'm
a
like,
bar.
ta-da! Not a speakeasy.
Not a speakeasy. Yeah.
Right. Just a bunch of dirt.
Oh, that's funny.
That's really cool.
I find it very endearing. And it's free.
Yeah, no, that's even better, especially in New York City.
I'm just thinking about
I
the
know.
rent you
Yeah.
have to pay
Right?
to maintain a dirt collection in the city. But
Especially 'cause
that's
it's
part
been
of what I
there
like about it.
Yeah,
It's the
from
sheer
the
audacity.
70s.
the audacity, I love it. Yeah.
The audacity of
Just
dirt.
like, hey.
The audacity of dirt.
That's really cool though.
There are so many things. I mean, one thing that I really like is actually in the middle of a very non-Atlas Obscura place, which is Times Square. It's another art installation, but it's really hard to detect. So at this particular intersection, there's a sound installation, and it's a hum. And you have to stand in the exact right place to be able to hear it. And it's so difficult to hear because it's amid the insanity of Times Square.
I feel like I've seen people trying to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It could
it's-
just be
you
crazy
stand
people
over a
just,
subway crane.
in the city. Anything's possible.
Yeah. It's hard to tell.
So,
But yeah, it's just there, and you have to stand in the exact right spot.
That
But
sounds pretty cool.
another thing I really like is at the Herald Square subway station, on one of the platforms, I think it's the Q platform, there's a hidden musical instrument, and it just looks like this green bar, and it has a bunch of what looks like little holes in this horizontal green bar, and if you wave your hand in front of it, it will make a sound.
Wow.
Because it has these sensors, and so you can essentially play a song if you jump up and put your hand in front of all the different
That's cool.
I
things.
want to see people do that. Gotta get
yeah,
my friends on it
so, yeah, it's just something you can do while waiting for the Q train.
now. That's really cool.
The thing about
Yeah.
the sound installations reminds me of at which train station, at the Grand Central Station. They have those corners that if you stand in
Yes.
the corner, if you stand in the corner, you can talk to somebody across
Yeah.
the way or something. It's the
Right.
way the dynamic,
It's
the
a,
acoustics are designed.
Yeah,
that do
I've
something.
seen that. They talk about that in books, like
Yeah.
fiction books, and then I've had friends do it when we've met up in the city, and I'm
We
like,
tried
what?
it once because we saw that you know what? A lot of the things kind of tie into what I've seen, like scavenger hunts, where you have to kind of go and find things. Like,
Yeah.
this would be a great, especially in the city, because you could,
There's so much.
there's so many. But we went to one scavenger hunt where we had to do things, and we saw that it was the Grand Central hunt. They talk about in the description where you listen to people across the, the way to hear the acoustics. So that's very cool.
Yes, it's a whispering gallery.
That's what
and
it
it's
is.
opposite the
Thank
Oyster
you.
Bar,
Mhm.
and it has the ceiling is arched in such a way that
Right.
the acoustics allow for you to whisper and hear somebody. But it's kind of creepy. More people have cottoned onto it now, and anytime you walk past there, you see people just
Whispering in the
standing
corner.
with their face, with their face in the corner. And it's kind of, if you've ever seen the end of the Blair Witch Project.
Yes.
Oh my God! Like the
Spoilers. No, just kidding.
Oh.
Yeah.
Creepy.
That is creepy.
I was like,
But it's worth it.
That's
now,
great.
that would, if I just like saw someone there just being like, shh, I'm like kind of, I'd be like, all right, gotta go.
Yeah, exactly.
So beyond here, what are some of your favorite places? Like maybe like some new ones that the new book's going to talk about, or foods?
Yeah. So
Ooh,
there's
food.
a library related one that is new for
Nice.
the updated edition, and I had to do so much fact checking because it just seems unreal. So there's an 18th century library in Portugal, in Mafra, and it's gorgeous. I mean, it's just very ornate. It's very sort of like white and gray tones, and all the books there are hundreds of years old. And that is amazing in itself. It's beautiful, but at night they release a horde of bats to fly around
Oh my
the
goodness.
library to shoo away the insects that would otherwise feed on the old books. So it's
Were
their
the
method
snakes
of pest
not
control.
available for this?
I know it's
Right?
so many of my favorites involve creatures
That's
running
so,
amok, but they've been doing this. This is like the traditional way to keep the insects away. They do have to cover
wild.
the
I was
desk
gonna
with help.
say, like, don't
Like the
they
bat
worry
poop?
about? But because I
In
would
the
think
morning,
that, like,
they-
if they scratch something by accident, I don't know what type of bats
I'm
these
not
are.
sure.
As if I'm a bat expert,
I got a
but
guy.
I'm
I'll
like,
check with my bad guy. I'll let you know.
because I'm. I mean,
They
that's
seem to
definitely
be
an
respectful
interesting
bats.
way.
They're respect.
That's so cool.
That's very cool.
Did they have like a video of this?
Yeah.
Not that I've seen. I
Ooh.
haven't looked super thoroughly, but I know they do have to in the morning. They put protective animal pelts on the desks, and they have to clean the guano off the floor in the morning.
Jackie would
Yeah.
not stand
So-
for that.
No,
We have a
no, our
librarian.
coworker. She's a big germaphobe. So
For
she
for
would-
anybody listening who's wondering if Syosset Library will employ bats, it's a cool idea, but I
It's
think
gonna
so.
be a no.
I think some people are going to say no.
Yeah. Well.
Oh,
we
man.
wouldn't even have. I don't even think we would have the like architecture to get
Support
them in and out
bats.
of the building.
Yeah. Like how
Without
do you release?
there
How do you
being trouble?
wrangle a group of
Yeah,
bats? What do you
you
call
get
a
a
group of bats anyway? I don't
Oh,
know.
that I don't know. But I was
Oh,
like, you get
yeah,
a
a
bat
flock?
wrangler.
A flock. Yeah, that works. Wow.
Another place in Portugal that we have added to the book, it recently got me in trouble because, so it's basically a 19th century serial killer's head in a jar.
Oh my
What?
god!
And
That you're speaking Stacey's language.
Oh, she's so excited.
I like creepy
It's-
stuff like that, but what?
Yeah.
yeah, it's pickled. It's a pickled head,
Oh my god.
and it's been preserved just incredibly. He has a very
Wow.
serene look on his face. But I was doing a presentation on the book tour for what I thought was an adult event, but someone had brought their child, and as I displayed on the giant screen this pickled head in a jar, and I gleefully talked about serial killers in the 19th century, I saw a woman and her small child running away.
Be like,
I thought,
oh my
no.
gosh, this is not what I thought.
We've all been there.
But it's amazing. It's worth looking at.
Story
I
time
think,
gone
you know,
wrong.
even as a child, you need to be introduced to this type of thing.
You're never
Yeah.
too young for a pickled severed head story.
No.
That's so.
And
Oh wow.
yeah, his story is quite fascinating. And this was during an era when things like phrenology were becoming prominent, and the idea that you could analyze someone's physicality and determine their morality
Mm-hmm.
was a prominent idea. And so that was what was behind
Yeah. Was that part of
preserving
wow.
this serial killer's head.
that was part of like the
But,
eugenics movement, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It was kind of a precursor to that. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know if they ever determined anything from his potato-like head, but it's still on display.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. So these are the kinds of delights you can expect from Alice Obscura.
That's
Wow.
really cool.
We've been delighted.
Yeah, we really have.
I'm like so intrigued.
Good.
Because like as we're talking, I'll like
We're taking
randomly
notes,
go through
yeah.
stuff on the website, and I'm like,
Yeah.
ooh, like this. Ooh, I can't wait to get my hands on the book.
Stacy and I had a moment of a few months ago when we were really into like sunken towns
Oh yeah, forgot about that.
Oh,
I was like, what
or
moment?
drowned villages. I think like when
Sunken-
like there's a bunch up in
upstate.
upstate New York, like around the Catskills, that were drowned to create reservoirs for New York City.
I read
Yes.
a book about that. Yeah, I've heard of this.
Yeah, we were
They're
talking about it with
fascinating.
because one of the books we both read that features in it where they created a man-made lake by drowning
Are we-
the town.
I don't want to say what book it is because I don't want to spoil it for anybody who's not read it yet. But it's a, but
Just look at some of Jessica's staff pics on the website.
yes, all the creepy
You'll
stuff.
narrow it down.
Cross promotion there. I like it.
No,
yeah.
but it's interesting some of the stuff you don't realize from either local history, world history, that like, you know, these little bits that kind of just like pop up and take you down a rabbit hole of like, whoa.
Definitely.
yes.
Like I
I know I
get
can end up on
excited.
Wikipedia for hours.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah, like it just
When you mentioned that the story of the treasures in the walls, and I'm thinking Wikipedia. In an afternoon.
gotta
yeah.
go find the treasure of King Zog.
Yeah, we can. I think. I now owe both Stacy and Sharon a drive by King Zog's ruins,
Yep,
and
sounds
by
like
that,
a
and
plan.
maybe a hike up to that cemetery, which
It's research.
it is research. This is we're right
Work
next to the local
project.
history department. We should all know about this stuff.
It's true.
Definitely. It's imperative.
Oh, very cool.
Oh, that's cute. You even have like because I'm scrolling through the website. For everyone that doesn't know, it's atlasobscura.com. But I like I like the creepy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I also just one of the lists is the 11 surprisingly romantic places in New York City.
Oh,
I'm like, oh, romance.
Yeah, we go in a lot of different directions.
Sure.
You know, you can go for the macabre stuff, but you can also look at bridges made from the aerial roots of trees and incredible waterfalls and things that aren't so nightmare-inducing.
I like that you have Foodless and everything because I
Oh,
love food.
yes.
Are there any? How does
So
that?
we have a food book coming out next year. The writer of it, her name is Cecily. She has been working on it very, very hardcore for a long time. It's going to be called Gastro Obscura.
Nice.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, she's been collecting foods from around the world.
And
That's
what's
really
the
cool.
strangest? Can you say anything?
Oh
Or
man,
the most
I mean,
delicious.
Right.
well, it's funny because you know, one person's strange is another person's daily breakfast.
That is true. No judgment.
Yeah, so like when I was on doing school visits on tour, and I was talking about how in Peru they weave this bridge out of grass and they reweave it every year, and it's a whole festival, and they dance and drink beer and eat guinea pig, and all the kids were like, "What?"
Yeah.
Some of them probably have pet guinea pigs, but like, you know, that's just daily food for people on the
Yeah.
other side of the world.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, there are foods that even if you're a local who grew up among them, they seem pretty weird, like fairy bread from Australia. I still,
Oh, is
I
that
guess
with
as a kid
sprinkles
that didn't
or
seem
Jimmy's
strange.
or depends
Yeah,
what you call them.
it's just
no, it
it's
really
like
depends.
really cheap white bread
Uh-huh.
with butter and sprinkles,
Okay.
and that's it.
Huh.
So not quite a delicacy, but a regional food certainly.
It's really, it sounds like a snack. I would eat that.
But then there are things like the death noodles of Jakarta.
Whoa.
They are meant to be the world's spiciest noodles.
Yeah, I can't get
Whoa.
into spicy. I know some people
No, me
really.
neither.
I don't know. I have a limit.
Yeah.
It depends. I can't do like super spicy. Like
Yeah.
they have the one chip challenge. I forgot the company that does it, but I've seen like someone I follow on YouTube that like eats stuff. I remember like one of my like a person I actually know, a friend of mine was like, I'm gonna do the one chip challenge 'cause it's like with ghost pepper or something like that, and you could only have one because like if you eat more like you're gonna
Jeez.
burn your taste buds or something. But I'm like, oh.
Yeah. No thanks. I'd like the one chocolate challenge, maybe. But
Yeah.
I like the 5 chocolate
Five,
challenge.
yeah. Why stop at one?
So I guess before we wrap, do you have a favorite library and a favorite cemetery? Just because you mentioned.
Yeah.
I mean, personally, I love the cemetery in Edinburgh. To me,
never been.
was one of the coolest places I've ever been to.
That's cool.
Oh, yeah. Gosh, there are so many. Well, I mean, I really do like Greenwood Cemetery in Brooklyn.
That's
It's just
actually
huge.
gorgeous.
And and it has the highest point in Brooklyn. So if you climb up the hill, you can go and see a vista open up before you. God, there's so many good libraries. One that I haven't yet been to, but I really want to, is the Peabody Library in Baltimore, because it has this open, gorgeous space. I have a friend who got married there.
Oh, wow.
Oh, nice.
I've since seen photos. I've wanted to go, but I wrote a lot of the Atlas Obscura book at the main reading room of the New York Public Library, which
Is
is
beautiful.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you feel bad procrastinating in that room. You sort of feel like you want to impress the room.
Yeah, like earn your spot there.
Yeah.
So that one's a classic. There's a library in another one that I haven't been to yet, but I want to, is at Yale. They have the medical library a brain collection.
I've heard of that.
It's the Cushing Brain Collection, and it was recently renovated.
Ooh.
So you can just go and see a bunch of brains in jars.
Nice.
So that's on my list for sure.
Well, I mean, library is more than just books.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
We shouldn't say just books,
true.
more than books.
Books and brains.
Yeah, and I recently visited the Brooklyn Historical Society's library, which is, I think it's like one of the few, it's landmarked, and it's one of the few indoor landmarked places. So that's really lovely. They've preserved it really nicely.
Oh, nice.
Very cool.
Yeah.
More places to add to our list, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us. I do hope you'll come back at some point and talk about more weird and wonderful
Please
places
do.
to
Yeah.
Thank you.
I would love to. We've barely scraped the surface.
Oh,
of
I'm
weirdness.
sure.
And that's just it. I'm like, we could do this
We could
for
do this
hours.
all
day.
We're enjoying this very much. Thank you.
And we're so appreciative
Yes,
of this.
thank you.
Thank you
for
so
taking the time.
much.
Oh, you're so welcome.
And what if people want to learn about events that the Atlas is having?
Yeah, so we call them experiences now because they're all about the experience. But if you go to atlasobscura.com, you'll see experiences and our international trips listed at the top.
That's really cool.
Fantastic.
Amazing. We now are all planning our next vacation.
That's right.
Yay.
I
right.
think I'll get there. Like,
So once again, this is Jessica and
This is Sharon.
and Stacy.
we're here with
Ella Morton.
and we're going to close this chapter of Turn the Page.
It's time to close this chapter of Turn the Page. Join us for the next episode.